Welcome to Tiny Game Chronicles episode 30. My name is Marcus, and here with my good friend Michael, every other week we discuss games that are quick plays, but epic journeys. Great to see you today, Michael. How are you doing, my friend?
I am excited to talk about this game, Marcus. I'm actually doing very well, a little bit tired because it's also late in the evening for us, but energized because we're not alone, right?
We're not alone. We're not alone. We have a very special guest, and it's probably the most appropriate guest we could have. Estin, aka Solo, is joining us for the episode today. How are you doing, Solo? Estin? I'm going to call you Estin. How are we doing today, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on as a guest. Definitely, I appreciate the generosity in saying that I'm an appropriate guest, and definitely I will try not to act inappropriate.
I'm sure. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. I know that you're really keen, and you know this is a favorite game of yours, or a game that you really enjoyed at least. So I'm looking forward to getting into this discussion with you guys. But before we do that, let's start off with a little question. You know, Far Lone Sails is about this solo adventure of this little character. So I was curious, you guys, and maybe Michael, you can get us started. Like, do you have any memorable, solo, into trips that you just took by yourself that you enjoyed? Any memories of solo travel?
Actually, yes. You might know that I spent quite a few years in South Africa, and right next to South Africa is what was then called Southwest Africa, now called Namibia. Since independence, and I did some solo traveling in my Air Force years because I had border duty. So it means that I spent quite a little bit of time on the road, and I think there's nothing like traveling. If you know Namibia, you know it's a desert country. There's nothing like traveling through a desert on a lonely road where you maybe meet another car once a day, right? And when night comes, when that star illuminates or that sky illuminates with those stars, you feel tiny, but such a connection with nature. There's nothing like it. So I think that's why also this game brings across elements with regards to how I experienced traveling in a deserted land, if that makes sense. Yeah. So yep.
Yeah,
How
I
about
can.
you?
I can.
Sorry,
Well, I can
Marcus.
jump in next here. So
Go.
I've always admired people that have done these kind of like solo trips because despite me being pretty introverted, in real life, like I'm not the most social person. I still, I don't know, have always been a little tentative to ever do those solo trips. So, I was thinking back to like, it was a pretty common thing back. People would graduate from university and they'd go and they'd spend a month or a couple to spend the summer in Europe backpacking around by themselves, or they go to Australia or New Zealand or something like this. And I was like, man, that sounds cool, but I couldn't ever bring myself to initiate that thing. And I always wanted to be able to experience it with my girlfriend at the time. I've been together, and my wife now, Lindsay. So like I always wanted to be able to experience that stuff with her. But there's this romantic kind of idea that I have about being able to do these things by yourself and to have that kind of experience that you just described, Michael, of being able to do that kind of like connect with the environment more rather than just the person.
Yep.
But I'm always afraid that I would see something that I want to be able to share with my partner, right? And so like I don't know, I've never really, like, outside of the occasional work trip or something like that where I'm gone for a week or a weekend or something like that. I've never really done any solo travel, and I don't know, maybe it's a bucket list sort of thing to do at some point, because I think that maybe I'm missing out on something if I don't. How about you, Estin? How about you? Got any solo kind of travel stories or experiences you want to share?
I've done some solo travel. One I've done is like my great grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. And so one thing I wanted to do was that I wanted to actually go and just feel some bit of a connection to that and to that bit of a little bit of the land, if you will. And so one thing I did was I went up into the Appalachian Trail and
Oh
stopped at
wow.
different parts along the way, and saw different parts of the trail. I hit like Grandfather Mountain. Of course, I went into like Cherokee, and I came down into like through like Clayton, Georgia area, and went into like ended up in like Athens. Just driving along. I did it like during like a summertime, just getting pictures along the way and stuff. And I was just doing it solo. So, I mean, it really wasn't, and no pun intended there on my name. And that bears no reference to actually my Discord handle. But,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, and it was like, just, didn't bother me, being on the journey and seeing these great, views, and just, having these experiences and no one there to actually kind of share them with, because it was just kind of my own kind of journey onto myself to try and like connect and satisfy my own goals and just things I wanted to do to kind of feel a little bit closer to that bit of like of my background and my family and stuff. And ironically, I mean, I've kind of noted and kind of always look in the mirror, if you will, and get reminded of that trip because when I was in Athens, Georgia, ended up in like a tattoo parlor. And I kind of, wanted to note like kind of my own personal like mecca. And so of all things, draw at times, not as much as I used to. And so I actually drew up. I had a drawing and I asked the guy, I said, "Can you put this on me?" and stuff. And he did minor modifications just to make it flow better with my anatomy. And so that's how I actually got ended up. I know it's nothing tribal, but that's how I ended up getting like the tattoo of the xenomorph on the back of my shoulder.
Okay.
And
Cool.
yeah. And so that was kind of one of my solo journeys I had, but I still, I enjoyed it all.
Very cool. Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting to kind of turn into getting a tattoo at the end of it, but that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a great story. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, before we get into our discussion on far loan sales, I wanted to mention that our previous episode was on the game Spilled, and I think Michael, it's fair to say this one we were hoping for a little bit more from this game, this little tiny game, but it wasn't unenjoyable, but it was maybe a little thin for our liking.
I think you're 100% right, Marcus. It had it's beautiful moments, but I think we are looking for a little bit more depth, with regards to the games that we play. I would say it was a enjoyable light game, if
Yes,
that makes
I think that's
sense.
fair. I think that's fair.
Extremely light. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, guys, let's get into our discussion about Far Loan Sales. Far Loan Sales released on PC and Mac in 2018. It then came to basically console, PS4, Xbox One, Switch in 2019, and then on mobile in 2020. So at the moment it's on everything. You can play it anywhere. It's the first game developed by a Swiss studio named Okomotive, and it was published by Mixed Vision. They describe Far Loan Sales as an atmospheric vehicle adventure game where you travel across a dried out ocean following the tracks of a once thriving civilization. The gameplay is basically like a 2D side scroller. You play as this little guy driving I don't know what we're going to call this, a vehicle, like a ship car kind of thing.
Yeah.
Across the environment as you encounter these environmental puzzles, and you have to maintain your ride by picking up and burning fuel, putting out fires, kind of electrical issues and stuff like that, trying to make your way across this landscape. The Open Critic score for Far Loan Sales is sitting at an 80. It was nominated for and won a slew of these smaller indie game awards, like literally dozens. Like, nothing that really kind of jumped out at me as awards that I was familiar with, but this is a pretty well celebrated game when it came out, and it was often praised like for the atmosphere, the music, and this, I don't know how to describe the feeling that it would
Evoke.
Evoke. Thank you, Michael. Okay, we start off our discussions by asking ourselves 3 questions. So, what platform did you play it on? About how long did it take you to beat? And what are some high-level thoughts about this game? Estin, do you want to get us started?
Sure. I played it on the original Switch, not the OLED, but the original Switch. And time to beat. I loved the game. I started playing it, so it evoked a lot of atmosphere and feelings of journey for me.
Mm.
And so it took me. I played it literally like through the weekend. So gosh, it's been a while now. So I'd probably say maybe like 14 hours, maybe 12, 14 hours if I had to like guess from that far back in the annals, because it's been a while, but it left such an impression upon me that I hold it dear to my heart. And then I mean, as far as like standouts for me on that game, and like I was alluding to just then, I mean, for me, it definitely was the atmosphere that it gave you and how much it kind of literally gave me the feeling like I was actually on, despite it being a motorized landmass vehicle, that I was actually on like a J-35, and I was actually sails up, flying by myself, and I was having to manage, the mast. I was having to manage, stuff going underneath there, and when the wind wasn't up, I was having to manage the kicker engine, and that it was, and keep forward momentum going, and so it evoked that kind of feeling of like I'm truly like sailing here. And it was I don't want to go too deep, so I want to save some stuff later into the podcast, but that was what the main thing that I kind of just kicked in for me initially. It kind of grabbed me, synced me into the game, and I'm like, oh, I'm all in. I'm just straight up playing nothing but this until I'm done.
Yeah. Michael.
It did not take me quite that long.
I
I'm
think we found
impressed.
somebody that's may have taken longer at a game than you, Michael. We're there. It happened. I don't know.
Yes, but first of all, I'm really surprised that Soda, you played it on Switch, because I tried to play it on Steam Deck, and I'm not the youngest, right? And I really struggled to kind of see what I was picking up and all the small little things. And I know that there is a zoom option, but even with a zoom option, man, I was kind of swearing about the quality of my sight, if that, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
reverted playing it on a bigger screen. So I played it on Steam, obviously, but I used the bigger monitor, so to say, just because it was easier for me to differentiate the small little details, because there are tons of them, right? And for me, it's a really a wordless type of road trip. That's not really a road trip. So it's
This
kind
is
of
not keep driving, Michael. Not
it
quite
is
keep driving. No.
it is not keep driving. Although the idea here is to keep driving, if
Yes.
that makes sense,
Yeah.
Oh
right?
yeah,
To
yeah.
keep running.
Forward momentum. Forward momentum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But beneath all that steel and the silence, even though there's beautiful music here, it's about the ache of what's missing as you contemplate the landscape, and it's really about the beauty of moving forward. And for me, I'm very much about honoring the past, and kind of there were moments there that you could kind of see past history. There is a sense of loss that you experience while playing the game. And it's about finding beauty in kind of those long, quiet roads ahead, with all different type of weather conditions. So I think it's all about what it takes to keep the wheels turning. And I think that's what I'm left with. Almost like, if I had to give it an alternative title, like The Last of the Mohicans, I would say like The Last Okomotive, because I think that's what the vehicle is called. It's a journey through rust and reflection. So I absolutely love this game. Sorry, spoiler.
And I don't think you mentioned how long it took you to beat. It was less than solo,
just over 5.5 hours. So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Did lots of walking.
Lots of water. We're gonna get into that. Yeah. So
we'll get into that. Yeah.
it took me a lot less than you guys. I was about 3 hours and 45 minutes. I did play it on my Steam Deck, and I will agree with Michael that it is. I don't think it is best suited to that smaller screen because you do have the ability to zoom in a little bit by holding down one of the trigger buttons, but it's still quite small, and you kind of like learn where everything is on your ship. So it's not like, but it's just not. Yeah, I don't think it's the best way. I think that this
Totally.
would benefit from being on a bigger screen. Um, High level thoughts. Yeah, I would agree with both you guys. I enjoyed this game a fair amount. I think that this is a very atmospheric game. It is a wordless narrative. It is you are absorbing what you're seeing and trying to kind of piece together. And I don't think that there's necessarily like a one, you know, canon story going on here. It's kind of how you interpret things. And those types of things can be hit and miss for me especially, but I think I connected with this one more than others that are tend to be have stories that are told in this manner.
Like Cub, if you remember, no? The
right.
Cub.
Yeah, I think there are some similarities with Cub. I think there's some similarities with lots of games that I played. I had mentioned to you guys in our private chat prior to. I think this has a lot of like Limbo and Inside and Planet of Lana design and storytelling. Like this is, you're moving from left to right. It is wordless. There are puzzles. You're getting story through the environment and the puzzles that you're doing. And if that's what this is, and it worked for me, I guess, for this one. And this game is beautiful. I will say that right off the top. We're definitely going to be touching on this later. Despite kind of those, if feeling like I wanted to, I mean, maybe that's part of it, is I wanted to be able to see it on a bigger screen because some of those details, it is a very detailed game and visually very detailed. And sometimes because it was on such a small screen, I couldn't see it all, or I couldn't feel like I could appreciate it as much as I would have liked to. So we'll leave it at there. And before we get into our main deep dive discussion, just wanted to give folks a brief reminder about how we talk about games on Tiny Game Chronicles. We like to identify 3 things that we think particularly stood out about a game and do a deeper dive discussion on each of those 3 things. And we try to avoid spoilers. This game, I don't think that there's all that much to spoil, but we'll definitely avoid kind of the details of how the game ends, just so that people can experience that part for themselves. Otherwise, again, I think there's a lot of up for interpretation that goes on in this story, and I don't think there's like big surprises for the most part. So if you haven't played the game, I think you're probably safe to listen without kind of us potentially ruining the experience for you. So, okay, let's get into our deep dive discussion on Far Lone Sails. The first standout, and I alluded to it in my high level thoughts, is this game's gorgeous, and I really wanted to talk a little bit more about the landscapes that you see in Far Lone Sails. So, Michael, why don't you get us started about talking about landscapes?
So, as you start and you go through this game is filled with lots of abandoned stuff, right? So, abandoned machines, toppled structures, and traces that some sort of life took place and vanished some time ago. And I think this is how the game tells its story, through the things that you find and the spaces that you cross as you're traveling. So every detail showcases, I don't know, kind of quiet whispers of some sort of ambition of failure or maybe some disaster. Why life is gone. You mentioned the small little details, so a lot of muted colors
Yes.
that you see.
The color palette is very interesting, right? There are some splashes of color here and there, but it's by and large, it's a lot of grays and browns.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so every so now and again, there is like a lively color that kind of pops up, like a red or like an orangey, vibrant color. And it makes you kind of feel the heaviness of the weight of what was lost
Hmm.
through that. It's almost like I was reminded of Schindler's List, right? A movie that is black and white until you see the girl with the little red dress, if that
Right.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of made me think of that. And so with that color breaks through, it's almost like a little bit of magic. And so within this landscape, you need to gather different objects that are also, some of them are bright. Uh, I would call them supplies, for want of a better word, to kind of fuel your journey as you go ahead. So yeah, Marcus, I spend a lot of time kind of walking in this game because I felt that I was going through a lost civilization and I wanted to preserve any signs that the civilization existed. And so
Hmm.
they're not collectibles because it's not like 1 of 10 that you're collecting, but you're collecting, I don't know, remnants like a briefcase or books or a
Well,
chair or something like that, right? Where I kind of said, okay, well, maybe in this journey I'll find a museum and I can put them in there or something,
right.
right? And
Well, it's
so,
funny that you mentioned it, because it kind of like you getting out of your vehicle
mm,
to go and scavenge for supplies. Like, I think
when I was out of
that
fuel, exactly.
when you were out of fuel, yeah, like, so
Mm,
Yeah.
I think that probably allowed, because this is maybe my one nitpick that I'll
mm,
bring up about the game, is that the backgrounds and the landscapes that you see in this game are gorgeous. But when you're in your vehicle and you are trying to just move forward and manage the stuff that's going on in your vehicle, it's easy to miss those
totally.
gorgeous landscapes. So I think that, like, you probably were able to appreciate some of that stuff a little bit more than I was, because I was so busy trying to make sure my fuel didn't run out and my fires were put out and my, everything was kind of being properly managed within the ship. And then
Mm,
I just kind of glanced to the behind the ship and it's like, oh my God, it's beautiful. You see
mm,
a volcano exploding or something, right? And
mm,
it's just like, wow, this is awesome. Or you see some kind of really cool, like, derelict building, or these factories and stuff like that. And there's one where I can't remember what was it said, but there's like an old kind of like dilapidated sign,
mm.
from the future is now, or something along those lines,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. And you catch these, but it's always kind of like when you're really humming and trying to kind of maintain your ship, you only catch them kind of at like the side of your vision. Like, you're unable to really like focus and appreciate it. And maybe that was the intention. I'm not sure, but I feel like I was missing some some good storytelling a little bit, because I was so focused on what was going on in my ship that I wasn't able to fully.
getting the
Yeah.
machine going. And
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time because I had the notion that fuel. I mean, if you watched Mad Max, any Mad Max movie, you will know this, right? Fuel is scarce.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time sailing, or at least using the sails for the wind. Thus the title, no, as
Yeah.
well. And I think
And
if
this is
you're
why it
out
took you
there,
5.5 hours, because that sail moves a lot slower than the fuel, right?
exactly, exactly. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure, Solo, what took you 14 hours. Whether you went back, it could be. But I think if you're outside on top of your vehicle, putting out those sails, and there's not always wind, so that doesn't always work, right? Uh, there is a closer connection,
Mhm.
but not as intimate as when you're walking, right? And so you can't always also walk because there's a limit where it stops. You can't continue. Then you have to go back and pull your vehicle, right? Which is
Yeah.
what I did, right? So yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Solo, what about you?
Yeah, I can reach back so far. I really don't, kind of loosely quoting my playtime. I just remember I beat it in like one weekend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm loosely saying 12 to 14 hours. I know I spent,
It was probably shorter. I don't think it's that long. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. But yeah,
mm,
I mean, it's a weekend game for sure.
But
Yeah.
you also
It
haven't
is.
played it
Oh,
once.
definitely.
No? Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a weekend game, but I mean, you are juxtaposition with like, okay, I take this fuel and how much do I feed the engine, and I get a full head of steam, and then I note the wind picks up, and now I can use my sail, but then I got to go run down and I got to kill the engine, and now I can take benefit of the wind and I can use my sail to just sail for a while. But if you've used up a lot of your fuel to burn, then now you're in a quandary, because now you're like, okay, I just used up all that fuel and wasted it when I could have just been using the wind to do my sail. So you're kind of constantly trying to balance, okay, do I use fuel to burn the engine and combust, or do I stop and I use the sail? And I know on the Switch you could pan out
Yep.
often, and you can take a peripheral view of your environment, so you can see things coming, you can see lightning storms forming in the background, so know, oh, okay, lightning may be striking my sail, catch it on fire, let me go up, put down my sail, let me go on to combustion. You can pan out, you can see, oh, a structure's coming that may knock my sail over, let me slow down my ship so I don't ram it, and now I have an electrical problem. So you can do a lot of this panning out, and you can actually
Did you?
see what's
I
going
honestly,
on.
I didn't pan out. I don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
really. I know that you
And that's
couldn't,
why,
but I barely
yeah,
did it at all. And again, getting back to the landscape kind of
yeah.
issue, like maybe that would have been a bit of a solution for me. Although it would have been harder
Yeah.
to then see what the heck is going on within your ship, your vehicle, right?
And that
But
that
like,
that was kind of, again, that was again, that was your quandary, because if you pan out, it minimizes your ship, so you can't see, if you're running on combustion, you can't see how well the engine is staying hot to keep you
yeah,
going.
Correct.
But yet at the same time, you can see, are there resources around me coming up? And you're like, okay, do I need to full hard stop the ship? And now I can get these resources, but now I'm going to have to like restart my ship up, which is going to take more resources. If I'm on the sail and the wind is up, I can just like kind of like fold the sail. It'll be easy to pick back up the wind. Which direction is the wind going, kind of a thing. And so that was one thing. And one thing with the atmosphere of the game too was, I mean, you have moments in the game where it was kind of interesting. It was giving you hints. Okay, something's happened to society. Um, Obviously, you don't really see char too much around
Yep.
on buildings. You don't really see, life is around. There's wildlife you run into. Wildlife is thriving. Okay, so it's not anything that's like kind of like, too detrimental, but yet there's a lot of like stuff that's going around. There's a lot of Krebel that's around, a lot of rubbish that's around. So people just kind of just left things. So life has kind of been gone for a good amount of
feels like
time.
this has been gone. Like
Yeah,
this
and
has
to me,
whatever
the wind.
happened a long time ago, right?
Yeah,
This
and to
isn't more
me,
Yep.
recent. Yeah.
the wind was a character to me, because that added not only an element. The wind was like, okay, and that's why I love playing with it with headphones on, so I could hear the wind, because the wind added a character to the game to me too. Because I'm like, okay, not only is the wind, I could hear the wind picking up, so I can know I can do the sail, but also the wind had this eerie character effect that almost made it feel like kind of like a like a Tatooine effect of like, okay, this is such a cold and desolate planet of a place, because the wind is always blowing. It almost gives that eerie feeling like, there's nothing out here. It's just kind of like nothingness almost. And, where is everybody? And how the game starts, you're not giving any prologue. There's no words on the screen. I mean, you just kind of get up and you just start, and and you just begin. And so
Hmm.
that's what I loved about the atmosphere. And you mentioned the colors. Yeah, there's moments of dullness, but then when you run into the creatures, the wildlife, I should say creatures. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
mutate. There's no mutations in the game. You
This
run
is
into
not Fallout.
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no mutants in this game. They are.
Exactly.
You run into creatures, and then there's like the wildlife. There's greenery there, and when you
mm,
run into the tower at one point, there's a chalkboard in the background, and you're trying to figure out, what is writing on the chalkboard. Is there a message here of what happened?
mm,
You pick up a radio, and I tried to listen to the radio to hear if I can hear, anything on the, if there's coming through on an FM or work better during this time, an AM station, so you can reach out people further on that, an amplitude modulation. So I mean, just trying to see what happened, and so all that kind of eeriness to it all of the atmosphere, and drives you further to kind of see, in the game to see, where are we, where are we going? Where's this all going to end up? Am I going to end up into the, this the land of providence at the end and find all the people and find out what happened? What's going on here? And so
Yeah.
that's what I loved about the environment. And
Yeah.
along this, like I just said, about like, constantly weighing the pros and cons. Do I run the engine? Do I run the sail? Do I run the engine? And managing the ship, like you said, I've got to take down the sail. Lightning may hit it. I got to, like, if I ram something.
I'm gonna interrupt right here because
position.
we're getting right into our standout number 2, and I think like this is a perfect kind of spot to kind of jump into it. And so this is really like our standout number 2 is just this bond that you as the player, but also your character develops with your vehicle, your ship, and this is. Estin really has touched on it here. You are constantly managing, half a dozen different things to keep your vehicle moving forward, which is really this is the goal. Like the whole point of this is moving forward constantly, and you really kind of get into this rhythm of like, okay, now we need to. See, Michael, I was burning everything. I whatever I picked up, I just burned for fuel. So I'm like, I had like tons of fuel kind of available almost at all times.
Thank God you did that on pet on your ship.
I would put something into the incinerator, bump up my fuel stores, then I'd hit the steam thing to release the steam, then my
engine goes Fido.
Yeah. And then the sails might fall down, so I'd go up and I'd pick the sails back up. And so you're this whole like kind of cyclical rhythm of making sure that your ship is going, and you kind of get into this this rhythm of gameplay, right? I'm curious how you 100%. Guys kind of dealt with that, aside from not burning anything that wasn't kind of attached to the ship.
Note to the developers: please check Marcus's carbon footprint. Right?
Yeah.
See if he arrived at the end
I burned
of the game.
The radio, burned everything that I could. It was just like, I need fuel. I want to keep moving.
Marcus arrived at the end of the game wearing boxers.
If I could, I would have. It was just like, I got to burn this. I need fuel.
Funny. Yeah. So for me, the ship. As you mentioned, Marcus, it's interesting that you mentioned the word bond, because that's exactly what it was, right? It's almost becoming your partner, your lifeline, and you're getting, you're getting so close.
Well, lifeline is a really good thing because, like, it's, to me, you were out of your ship. It was scary being out there.
This
tiny little speck in this big environment. I didn't want to leave my ship. That was comfort for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't forget, so whatever it was, because we have various weather conditions, right? There are times where it's not nice, especially when there's a storm or when there's lightning. Or when there's hail, you don't want to be out. You want to be inside your ship.
Yeah, and that's cloud to ground lightning. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So for me, I knew when it was okay to be out, but I also knew, okay, this is not a good time to be out there. So I really appreciated the fact that a little bit of a personal story. This reminded me the way that my late stepfather was in love with his machines. He was an engineer, and he loved kind of taking engines out the cars, disassembling them, assembling them. He was not a technical guy with regards to computers and things like that, digital, no ways. He was, someone straight out of the Industrial Revolution. Loved machines.
Machinist.
Exactly, like anything that had to do with gears and things like that. And so this evoked kind of the love, right? Because I can't say that our protagonist had a lot of love for this Okomotive, right? The way that he or she looked after it. We don't know what the gender is here, right? So
no, it's very neutral. Yeah,
very neutral. Although, as I said, she has a red dress. If that makes sense. But I think I really loved that that connection and that bond that was there. And I think there is also, and you all know without spoiling, is there's a heartbreaking moment as well, that
Yeah.
happens in the game, especially when you know the amount of care that was given or was done to this vehicle. So it's almost like it's a paradox, right? It's the ship protects to a certain extent, but it's also a burden to kind of keep it going, if that makes sense, right? And yeah, I'm not going to say it's a metaphor, but yes, it is a metaphor, perhaps for when you start collecting all these things that you pick up, that Marcus burned so nicely, which is maybe exactly what you should have done. But as you're picking up, personal kind of baggage, from the environment around you, from other people's lives, and you drag that along with you. At least this is what I did, what I did, right? And I think the fact that Marcus has burnt it is almost like an act of sacrifice, right? It's a choice to burn something maybe that was special for someone, that was valuable to someone, so that you can move ahead at any cost. If that makes sense, right? That kind of connection. Yeah. So even though I'm teasing you, Marcus, yeah, I think that's the lesson out of there. No? So
Yeah, it certainly wasn't my thought process around, but I kind of like
yeah.
that. Maybe I will adopt that as my rationale for burning everything that I could.
Yeah, yeah, because we need to move ahead,
Yeah,
right? These things
exactly.
keep us back, or can
Yeah,
keep us back,
I like
right?
that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Estin, what about you in terms of this bond? Do you recall? I know it's been a little while since you played, but did you remember kind of like almost a relationship that you develop with your vehicle, your ship, as you're playing the
Yeah.
game?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed, it was definitely, to use my take on it, I felt like, it was like not a love-hate relationship, but it was like a situation of like, look, okay, I don't want to be alive. I want to thrive. And so, I mean, you're
Hmm.
constantly having to feed this ship and it's keeping you alive, but you're not thriving. It's constantly having to feed the ship to keep it moving. Along the way, you're having to add parts to the ship to augment it so that, you can have more comfort in it. But at the same time, it's not perfect. Um, and so, you get certain things handed to you that you can burn. Some things will net you more jewels, and as far as like in your
Hmm.
burn, so that you can get further, more energy to go further. Other things can be seen as precious when considered into the environment, like there's a plant. um and I
Hmm.
know on certain platforms, if you don't burn the plant, there's a little achievement for carrying the plant the whole entire way. Like as Michael said, there's actually like a briefcase. There's, at times there's literature.
Hmm.
Of course you get your more natural fuel resources. So yeah, I mean, I definitely felt, a bond with the ship, because I mean, it is your life source. It's keeping you out of the elements. It's your house.
Yep.
And along the way, I mean, you're having to, much like any home, you're having to manage the home, you're having to upkeep the home. And, there was, like Michael said, there was a point in the game where, at first I saw what was going on and I thought, well, I've augmented the ship enough, I've, improved things enough. Perhaps I can actually, like, outpace this event. But when
Hmm.
I see the event happens, I see this is inherent, and this is just, it is meant to sit me on this next chapter of this
Hmm.
character's life. And talking about loss and letting things go, and definitely, you keep looking forward, looking back in the past. That's how you
Hmm.
run into things in front of you. And so I'm like, okay, well, obviously this character now has to let things go in the past so that they can move forward to what is up ahead. And so it sucked when that moment happened, because it's definitely, you've done a lot of work for this ship. And
Hmm.
along the way, though, I did enjoy the incorporation in the game of how you actually improve the ship and how you actually make some creature comforts about it. And I didn't burn as much as you did, Marcus. I mean, not to make any more jokes about it. I mean, I do understand why you did it, because if you want to be efficient, burn everything, because that will
Yep.
make the ship run fast, go fast. You can burn and run the engine with the sail up, and I mean, you're double timing it. And
Yep.
so, I mean, burn everything. And so, I mean, definitely it is. But at the same time, it is fun. I did enjoy doing some of the soothing jobs and tasks of maintaining the ship and putting things out. And so, I mean, I enjoyed it, and it sucked when you lost a ship. There's actually I looked online to actually see because I actually ordered the actual limited edition Switch copy, physical copy of this game, and actually looked online to see actually if you can actually order a Lego of this ship.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
yeah, one time I did see it online, so I'm actually reproduced kind of, it's not Lego officially, but actual reproduced actual model of this ship.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if you can actually ever order it or anything like that, but I really wish Lego would have actually came out somehow or another with this ship, because I would have actually ordered it, because it was it is, you spend so much time with it that actually it's hard not to develop a connection with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got as you guys are talking, like I don't think that I had, like, the ship was comfort and safety for me, but I also viewed it more as a tool than kind of like I don't know, a companion.
Companion.
Yeah. So like I think that could be part of the reason why I was like, sure, it's just uh literally a vehicle to get me from point A to point B. And I know that I don't know what point B is, but I know I need to get there. And so it was just a tool for me. And yes, it represented safety, and I was more comfortable in it than outside of it. But I wasn't sure, like I felt like, this is my companion.
You didn't give it a name, Marcus. You didn't.
That's the
didn't.
problem.
Shame on you.
Yeah. I guess that's it. I guess that's it. I'm very,
You gotta
and
name the ship.
this probably speaks to who I am as a person, right? Like I don't necessarily easily develop emotional connections with people. Not to get too, but like, and I use things as as things rather than kind of
exactly.
like more deep meaning. But yeah. So
You're
let's move
not
on
a
before we go
romantic.
into too much more. Let's move on. Let's move
No,
on.
let's double back. Let us analyze.
I think we need to move on.
Let's see if he's a romantic or not.
Okay, so standout number 3 is there are puzzles in this game. I wouldn't say that they're overly complex puzzles, but as you're driving your vehicle along, you kind of get blocked, right? Blocked at various points. It probably happens, I don't know, a dozen, maybe a little bit more times than that, and you have to solve these puzzles. The puzzles are, they're, a gameplay kind of thing, but they also help kind of, I think, elucidate a bit of the story and what the kind of talk about the world and the narrative that we're developing here. Michael, do you want to get us started? What did you think of the puzzles? How effective were they in terms of like the overall game?
I think you said it actually quite nicely, Marcus. The fact that every puzzle, at least the way that I experienced it, never kind of felt tacked on, if that makes sense, right? So there weren't just obstacles, but every puzzle kind of served the story, nudging you to interact a little bit deeper with your environment as well as Berta or the Okomotive. And they were not, I don't know, I did not feel them as being abstract, right? Kind of abstract challenges. I know that you always had to, look for a red button. No, if that makes sense. It's always a part of the puzzle solving is how to get there and how to use it, and what sequence you needed to do things. But every kind of blocked road, any broken machinery, the shelter that you find when there is hazardous weather. It kind of requires a little bit of teamwork with you and your vehicle, because you could integrate these aspects many a time to improvise what you were doing to the Okomotive, how you could build something that could maybe be quite helpful on your adventure as you moved on. I remember this suction element, right? That you could build at the back of your Okomotive that hopefully helped you, not get out of your vehicle and collect everything manually, because that's obviously how you needed to do it. So it really, really felt integrated, and it helped you move through the narrative emotionally. So yeah, I loved it. I think that this the puzzling here made total sense and added a lot to the narrative. Yeah.
Estin?
Yeah, I like the puzzles. I don't think they were like it didn't feel grindy. The
Mm,
puzzles, were you were able to solve them but just by going and doing a little bit trial and error. You could figure them out. It was not anything where you had to like, okay, let me look on and see what this hieroglyphic code is supposed to mean, and
mm,
it was nothing like that. It was easily digestible, just playing through things visually and just a little bit, like I said, of trial and error. And I mean, they weren't like repetitive. It wasn't like, okay, I saw this puzzle 2 puzzles ago. So they, and you always felt like, sense of achievement after each one, because, it was like got you further along the path, or either, it helped you give you this new feature for your ship that made life
mm,
easier. So,
mm.
Yeah.
you felt that they were purposeful.
Yep. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would agree. I mean, I think like one thing that we haven't touched on, but I think that the puzzles really helped with the pacing of the game. I think like
Mm-hmm.
they were kind of staggered at, I think, appropriate intervals, so to just
Mm-hmm.
give you something a little bit different to do. So that's from a
Mm-hmm.
gameplay perspective. I would totally agree. Like, I'm not the puzzle guy on this show, and I had no real issues. I think it was the first one. Um, I didn't know how the game was kind of like. Again, there's no
Structured.
like, yeah. So like I didn't know that I had to go into a another building. Like, I was like
Mm,
running around. So I ended up having to look one up just because I was like, I don't know what the game needs me to do yet. And then after, I was like, oh, okay, you have to interact a little bit more with the environment. It's not just your ship. And so
correct.
um, after that, I didn't have to look up a single puzzle throughout the game. So it was more just like, I think, almost like game language. I hadn't quite figured out how the game
Uh,
worked,
you
basically.
need to check where stairs were, for
Yeah,
example, and
exactly.
then
Like,
climb on sails to kind of get to the stairs, and then
yeah,
move the vehicle around so that it was well positioned for you to be
yeah,
able to climb, and those things. Hey, I'm with
yeah.
you.
Yeah. And
And
another great thing was like you can't take any fall damage. And
That's
right,
so
yeah,
true.
that
you
was a
can
That's
good
jump from
very
thing.
anywhere.
true.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, and then plus
Yep.
you never do anything that you're like, "Ugh, I'm soft locked now.
Yep.
I've
yeah,
locked myself out. Now I've got to restart the whole game
yeah,
because I closed this hatch." They
yeah,
never did that. They never soft lock you.
yeah, yeah. Very
Although
good.
there are short, scary moments where you might think that, right? So
Yeah,
when
yeah,
something closes and you say, okay, how am I going to get it out of here? Am I caught?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But no, there aren't such moments, thank goodness. So it was well thought through.
yeah. I think we can that basically wraps up our standouts. So, Michael, but we did get one standout that was submitted by a community member, and I wanted to just read that one out too, because I think it's a really good point here.
Yeah, friend
So
of the show.
friend of the show, Slugcat Stew. So we do it. We're doing a call out in our Discord for community members standouts for the games that we're playing. So if that's something you want to be able to have your standout read out on the show, hop into our Discord. We'll put a call every prior to every episode, and we're gonna start reading some standouts from community members on the show. So what Slugcat Stew writes. His standout was like when the rain comes, is what he said, and he said more generally, just feeling safe and secure inside my vehicle, my vehicular buddy, and keeping them running by the repetitive tasks, which soon become habitual routines, which in turn add to the sense of safety. We humans love our routines. So, I mean, we've touched on a little bit of this. So I think that we were kind of
Yeah.
having similar feelings to Slugcat Stew in terms of kind of that safety, the repetitive tasks, that sort of thing. So thanks, Slugcat Stew, for sending that one in.
And
And
I
I
gotta
just want yeah,
add too is like there's this one part in the game I did not mention that I like cherish to this day and I love. And y'all probably, I know y'all played it, y'all experienced it. There's one part where you actually have the sail up because the winds are high, and the game automatically pans out into like a wide shot, and the music
The
raises up.
music picks up. Yes, I
yeah,
love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
gives you that it like it encapsulates you are sailing, and this is the open type sea, even though you're on land. that was just like, oh God, it's like candy. I'm
Yep.
just like, yeah, injected into this vein. It's just like, I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're wrapping up the discussion here, guys. I think we probably know. Michael already spoiled his thoughts. So what am I talking about? Do we recommend this game? What are some overall thoughts? Do we recommend it? And to whom would we recommend it? How about you get us started, though, Estin?
I would recommend this game. Definitely. I mean, it's not a long game to play. So if if you don't like the game, you haven't lost a lot of time, and if you don't like the game, normally it goes on sale. I've ate plenty of meals out and spent like, $19 and been like, well, that meal sucked. That was a waste of $19. So, I mean, if you don't like the game, I mean, it's not a deep dive. Not like, it's you're going to have to do a lot of reading of a lot of chat bubbles and stuff. So I'd recommend people playing it. It's a good visual novel, I would say, in a way, kind of telling a small visual, not more of a visual short story. That's what I should say. A visual short story, great music, great soundtrack. I played the soundtrack driving around in my car.
Beautiful.
And so, I mean, it's definitely I would recommend to people playing it. To whom I would recommend all ages. I mean, it definitely is. The puzzles are not like, thought provoking, stuff that like I said, you're going to have to go on the internet to try and figure out. I mean, definitely it's just tinkering around, trial and error, and you'll get through them.
Yeah. Michael.
So this game is definitely one that I would recommend, and we've played games like this before, Marcus, with regards to the nature of the game. I'm not going to mention the cub because obviously elements that we have here is also present in the cub, but the feeling of cub is a very different one. It evokes not the same emotion as far does, but Journey and Jusant, which
Yep.
you're playing now, Estin, as far as I know,
Yes.
are close to the sense of meditation atmosphere that it communicates. I think anyone who finds comfort in silent, open-ended stories with unanswered questions are here at home. Players who grow attached to objects, right? So call your vehicle a name. Enjoy nurturing systems. For me, this is a cozy game, if that makes sense, right? And treasure kind of exploration over action. Now, this is not a fast-paced game. You don't need to remember a sequence of how to do things in a short amount of time. It respects your time. It's a shortish game. If you burn everything, it's even shorter.
A little bit faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it is not a game, and Marcus mentioned this already earlier. I don't recommend this game to be played via handheld. I know, Essen, you played it on your Steam. If you're young and your eyes are perfect, then by all means go for it. But if you're wearing glasses or struggling with eyesight a little bit, then I would say, hey, rather look on the console or playing it on a bigger screen.
Actually, I didn't play it on the Steam. I played it on the Switch. I think it's just Steam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I played it on Switch.
Then just
Actually,
look
I
for
played it handheld on the Switch, though. I played it the whole time handheld on the
Okay,
Switch. So,
okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, I'm not trying to like y'all can come at me and hate me, but yeah, I'm 2015, so yeah. So my eyes are so yeah, I'm gonna be like
Your eyes are
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, like, you bastard, we hate
Yeah.
you, you and both your eyes.
Funny. For the audio listeners, Estin is the only one without glasses.
Without
on the
glasses,
show,
yes.
Very
So
good.
for me, I would echo again what you guys have both said. I think that it does evoke, if you liked games like Jusant and Journey and the themes and the kind of the emotions that those games evoke, I think that there's something for you here. I'll reiterate, the gameplay feels a lot more like a Limbo, an Inside, a Planet of Lana, those types of side-scrolling kind of puzzle, silent narrative sort of experiences. Yeah, this is a really good game. I think that as I think that you'll get something out of it if you enjoy these kind of introspective, atmospheric games that have a narrative, but it's not an explicit one that you can kind of absorb and appreciate. And would not get deterred that there are puzzles in these games, because I think they are additive and not frustrating.
Yep.
So I think that's where I'd land on it. So this is a pretty universal recommendation, unless you really don't like some of those games that we've mentioned that I think are kind of similar in terms of feel or gameplay.
And I will say too, if you do the double pack, because I have played Stranger Tides, and that Lone Sails, if you play through it, I'm not going to spoil it out for you because I want you to do the journey. But if you play Stranger Tides, obviously, yes, it is connected to Far Lone Sails. But if you do play Stranger Tides, you will get a new experience, a different experience with new mechanics. But at the same time, you will have some questions answered that you may walk away from Lone Sails with.
Okay.
Very good.
So it's worth playing.
Is it
Cool.
the same amount of time? Just
I think it's similar.
be...
Yeah, I was looking
Yeah.
at that. Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
Similar length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it qualifies.
Maybe
as a tiny
another
game.
tiny game one of these days,
Yeah,
Michael.
there we go.
Maybe.
Yeah,
That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it is just as good. It is not like the first one was better. I mean, it is just as good. Yeah.
Good. Love it.
Okay, guys, that's it for episode 30. We're going to finish things off by doing a little bit of housekeeping. So, of course, we would really appreciate it if you shared, liked, and subscribed, and left us a 5-star review, of course, wherever you happen to be listening. Aside from that, you can follow the show on Blue Sky at Tiny Game Chronicles. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Marcus O'Neill 79. And you can also, I'm going to start mentioning this, Michael. I have a couple other podcasts. I've got a couple other podcasts that we should mention. So I do one with my good friend John 32, with our good friend John 32. It's a fantasy critic podcast called Hype Factor. It's a monthly podcast. We're actually going to be recording here later this week, so we should be coming up with a new episode fairly soon. So if you like Fantasy Critic, I'd suggest you may want to check it out. And then we've just launched with other friends of ours another podcast called Brothers from Another Mothership, or BFAM for short. And it's just four of us kind of getting together, arguing a lot, and chatting video games about the hobby that we all love. So that sounds interesting. Also going to be monthly podcasts, but probably some bonus episodes here and there. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
It's definitely worth a listen, and it's not about alien abductions, although sometimes after listening to them, it feels like an alien abduction. So...
yeah.
There is no talk about MUFON in there. Yes,
there we go.
I'm waiting to talk about MUFON.
Not yet. We'll see. Okay, Estin, where can people find you? Do you have any direction that you want to point folks towards?
I'm in Discords, several Discords around. Normally my handle is solo. Always is solo. I used to be solo something, but I dropped it. If you're looking for me out there, I play Nintendo and play PlayStation. I'm solo on there. On PlayStation, I'm solo. 0995. There's significance to that date. If you're a PlayStation fan, you'll get it. And then like on Switch, I'm like a solo. Since like 2018, I've been a guest on a lot of different podcasts. Always the bride maid, never the bride. So I've been too much like I've never been a host on a gaming podcast, but I do make first look content from the Nintendo dads. So I'm actually make a lot of like I say, they have game codes, and I do a lot of first looks at times for them. So I'm on there, like some of their YouTube channels for first looks there under the handle solo, of course. So as far as social media, I don't know. I got to get on the social media there.
Yeah, you don't really have to. No,
I was on there for a while, and then I was like, I'm just not a lot happening, so I got off of social media.
Yeah.
So it was no drama.
I wouldn't recommend. No, you're good. You're good. If you're not missing it, you don't need it. And really, thanks for coming on today, Estin. I know it's kind of a last minute thing, so we're really happy that you were able to join us and kind of talk through this game.
Always a pleasure, man. Yeah, I love y'all guys. So yes, I was looking forward to it. I'm glad y'all had me. It's always a treat to be considered, and always a pleasure to be joined.
Yeah. Michael, where can people find you?
They can find me also on Blue Sky, or you can find me on Blue Sky under Drellesh, DRELLESH as well. And Estin is also part of this community, our tiny game community. the link to the Discord will be in our show notes. I stumbled through that. So please clicking it and join our fine, tiny community. We'd love to have you there.
And we're now on YouTube, Michael. We've got tiny.
Yes.
So we're publishing our episodes, and we come up with some shorts from here and there on the episodes. So if you are interested in consuming our shows by video, find us on YouTube, Tiny Game
Will
Chronicles.
this one be on video? Will this one be on video?
You betcha. Yep.
You betcha.
Yep.
Oh, you should have told me. I would have made my background a little more entertaining, other than like a yellow
You're
wall,
good,
ceiling
you're
fan,
good.
air intake.
You're good.
I've
When
got,
did the last
I've
time?
got
We
like,
put a
I've
little
got,
moustache
like,
on you.
I've got like Lego stuff up there. I've got all this like gaming merch I can show off. I'm actually at least wearing a GT Gran Turismo
There we
shirt.
go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, the only thing that we still have to do is introduce our next game. So this game is the first game published by solo dev Bastinus Rex. He's actually released, he or she has released more than a dozen other games on itch.io, but it's the first kind of Steam game that they've released. It's published by, a developer that we've covered a few games before, Critical Reflex.
Mm-hmm.
This game is a creepy fairy tale where your mission is to exorcise a ghost from an old lady's cottage by solving mysteries with your cards. And the name of this game, Michael, is
Karimara. Beneath the Forlorn Limbs. Yeah. Beneath
the Forlorn Limbs, yes. So we've had this recommended a couple of times. It's come up a few times as well. It's a pretty short game, if I recall. Like I think actually on the Steam page it says 30 to 60 minutes. It's kind of this creepy, like I said, I guess in the description, of creepy fairy tale, very kind of horror-ish. Or maybe a month too late on this one, Michael. So we're probably going to have a very good Halloween game. It's pretty recent. Yeah. It only came out, I think, early October. So
yeah. And it's on. I don't know. It's on some nomination lists, right, with regards to indie games of the year. I'm not exactly sure what category, but it's there. Yep. So and this is what made me curious. It's very atmospheric, and it's one of those weird games again, Marcus. And weird, I say that lovingly, right? So
yes. Hopefully not as weird as Arctic Eggs, Michael.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did not see any eggs in any of the promotional material.
So join us in playing Karimara, and then share your thoughts in the Discord. Share your standouts with us, and we'll be happy to read them out on the show.
Thank you very much.
So I guess that's everything. I guess I will just end things by saying thank you for listening, and we will be back in 2 weeks with Karimara Beneath the Forlorn Limbs.
Sounds ominous.
Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
See you then. Bye.